Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, with my brethren all around the world watching this video, hope you're having a great day today. As you're tuning in, make sure you do yourself a damn favor and hit that subscribe button, and surely you will not be disappointed. Now, let's get into the boxing. Dmitry Bivol. I wanted to talk about the man, Dmitry Bivol, because he had his fight last Saturday or this past weekend against Joe Smith Jr. on the zone. Big shout out to the zone, putting on consistently good cards, giving people value for money. It was a really good fight, man. It was a good fight. Really good performance from Dmitry Bivol. I would even go as far as to say, um, since he's become world champion, this is to me. I thought this was his most complete performance from start to finish. He's had really good performances, like the Barrera performance was really good. Um, but for me, I think this fight just it showed a lot of what Bivol can do. He fought a guy in Joe Smith Jr. who we all know is he's at a certain level. Smith is good, yes. He's durable, yes. He touches you with anything significant, you will feel it. But as far as pure boxing skills, he's not an elite fighter like that. So it was a fight for Bivol where you would expect him to win impressively, and he did. That doesn't mean he didn't have adversity, but he did look impressive in doing it. From just the subtleties that Bivol showed in this fight. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Joe Smith Jr. was charging harder in the whole fight, coming straight forward, trying to press the action because that was his best way of winning the fight. He did not lose his fight, Joe Smith, for a lack of trying. He tried dirty tactics. He threw Bivol to the floor and went in the clinches. He leaned on him when he could. He would, try to hurt him as much as possible, but it just wasn't working because Bivol, his ring IQ, his smarts, and I'm really starting to see that on a fight by fight basis. His ring IQ is becoming a lot more apparent to me. The guy, every time he would take a step or two steps back, as Joe Smith was coming forward, Bivol would spin to his right or his left to avoid touching the ropes, and he always knew where he was. He always knew where the ropes were. In comparison to where he was in the ring, and that takes a lot of ring awareness, a lot of ring IQ, because when you're in the heat of the moment, you got a guy like Joe Smith Jr. wanting to knock your block off, that kind of composure. Very few fighters have it. So that was one thing that I saw from Bivol against Smith. Another thing would be I would say his feints with his shoulders, his feints with his feet. He's one of the few fighters in boxing who actually feints really well, both his feet and his shoulders. Because for those of you who don't know, you can feint with your shoulders and you can feint with your feet. Some fighters, if you watch enough boxing and you look for these kind of things, you'll notice some fighters feint with their shoulders, some feint with their feet, and some fighters don't feint at all. Bivol does both, and he does them both very well, which is why when a guy is coming forward towards him, he can feint with his feet or his shoulders, and he could freeze a guy for half a second, and then had that time to spin off and get to the middle of the ring or get to wherever he wants to go in the ring to set up certain punches. So that's that. It's like subtleties like that I'm starting to pick up on with Bivol, and just overall, it was a great performance from him against Smith. Smith hurt him, I believe it was in the 10th round. Smith landed a punch around the end of the 10th round. He clipped Bivol right on the ear, and Bivol was staggered going back to his corner. So it wasn't like Bivol was as clean as a whistle following this fight. He took that was probably the biggest shot he took, and he was able to stay composed once he got back into the next round and continue doing what he was doing. So just overall, a completely thoroughly dominating performance with Dmitry Bivol. And I think at this point, he's had the belt for quite some time now. He won his title, the WBA light heavyweight title. He won it, against Trenton Broadhurst vacantly back in 2017. And that, the Smith fight was his fourth title defense. And, when you look at the names he's defended his belt against, Sullivan Barrera, who he stopped. You have Isaac Chilemba, who is a good name fighter, but he's kind of been relegated to kind of a gatekeeper at this point, or a fringe contender, but still a good fighter nonetheless, durable fighter. Beat him, beat John Pascal, and an old John Pascal at that, but was able to beat him pretty soundly, and then he beat Joe Smith Jr., a guy who in his last 5 fights, his only loss had come to Sullivan Barrera. That was a tough fight for Barrera. So, he's beating some good names in the light heavyweight division, but I think now it's time for Bivol. Now that he has a title, he has to take that next step. And there are some really interesting names just looking at the WBA rankings, there's some fights to be made here. Just going through the top 15, a couple names that stand out to me that he hasn't fought. I would say, well, you had the likes of a guy like Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown was a standout American amateur, one of the creme de la creme of American amateur boxing. He's had an up and down career so far. Where with Marcus Brown, he's had the fight against Hot Rod a couple years ago on the Spence Algeria undercard, and a lot of people thought he lost that fight. But then fast forward as early as early in this year, when he fought on the Pacquiao undercard, I believe, he fought Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown fought Badou Jack, and he looked nothing short of sensational against Badou Jack. And I was saying, uh, when I talked about Marcus Brown in one of my videos, I said if that Marcus Brown shows up every night moving forward, that Marcus Brown can give any light heavyweight in the world a big problem, because we saw Marcus Brown with his athleticism, with his fundamentals, with his boxing IQ. He's not afraid to get in there and get a little dirty if he has to. He has a lot of really good characteristics and skills going for him. So I think a fight with him and Bivol would be great, because Bivol is a guy that likes to fight from the outside and does it great, and he has great footwork and great rhythm and timing and fundamentals, and he's even got power. He knows how to put punches together, and he does it really well later on in the later rounds. So to see a guy like Brown try to cut the distance and make Bivol fight on the inside, I think that's probably, if there was an Achilles heel for Bivol, or something that you would be led to believe that he can't do at the highest levels, it's probably inside fighting, because we haven't seen anybody make him do that yet. So you have that fight. You have the likes of Joshua Buatsi, a guy from the UK who is, looking to be one of the best light heavyweights on the come up. People are very high on Joshua Buatsi. I would even say, like, if you listen to Eddie Hearn talk about his fighters, Joshua Buatsi is one of the guys he talks about the most. As far as and he props up the most because he's a fantastic fighter. He's a standout amateur for Great Britain and England and amateurs, and he looks to be the goods at light heavyweight. So that'd be a good fight for Bivol. And then another guy, and you guys might not be as familiar with him, and to be honest with you, I'm not ultimately that familiar with him, but I've seen him fight one time. He's a prospect on the come up, Craig Richards from the UK. Craig Richards, I would love to see Bivol in a fight like that. So there's some decent fights there for Bivol, and those are all guys I named in the top 15 of the WBA ranking. So you have Brown at number 1, Buati's at 5, and then Craig Richards is 14. So those are fights. That's a fight that I like to see. Those are fights I want to see happen for Bivol. And I was critical of him in the past because I didn't think, light heavyweight's very stacked. It's a very good division. There's a lot of great champions, a lot of good fighters. You have Alexander Vazdik, Artur Beterbiev, and Sergey Kovalev again. And for me, that's probably the fight I'd want to see the most, would be Bivol versus Sergey Kovalev. Sergey Kovalev, in my opinion, all right, and this is just my opinion. I'm just giving Daniel. I'm just talking boxing. Sergey Kovalev, when his mind is right, is the best light heavyweight in the world. No doubt about it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And, the two Ward fights did a number on him. Okay, they did. For better or for worse, they just did a number on him. And then the Alvarez fight, after the Alvarez, as I thought he was done. I'm like, this guy should just hang it up, pack it in. He's done. He don't have it no more. He showed incredible toughness and discipline to go back in the gym, get with Buddy McGirt, not refine his style, but just do things that he's always had for the duration of the fight. And you saw Kovalev not relying so much on power, but relying more on putting his punches together, relying more on his boxing skills, which he has. He's an A-level boxer. He is an A-level boxer. If you don't know, if you haven't figured that out already, I don't know what you're doing with watching boxing. But Kovalev has A-level boxing skills. He boxed more in the first fight, at least. So that should tell you right there all you need to know about Kovalev. I think the version of Kovalev that fought Alvarez, if that guy shows up against Bivol, and things do change on a fight-by-fight basis, but if he's able to bring that to the ring against Bivol, I think he gives Bivol a hell of a run for his money. So that to me is probably the fight I want to see. Kovalev versus anybody, the fight I want to see, because I just like Kovalev. But Bivol is really he's really good, man. He's really, really talented. He's so talented to the point, and then I actually touched on this before I end the video. He's so talented that you'll be surprised people who are bigging this guy up right now. Like, for example, at his last fight, if you guys are watching, boxing legend and arguably, he's in that discussion at least, arguably the greatest defensive fighter who ever lived, Pernell Whitaker, is the ESPN wrote an article about how Whitaker is a massive fan of Dmitry Bivol. Dan Raphael wrote it, so big shout out to Dan Raphael. Basically says Bivol's #1 fan is impressed. So basically, yeah, let's get into it. Here's what Bush said about Dmitry Bivol. He said, I quote, "I think he's an excellent defensive fighter. I think he has great skills. The defense is excellent. He's got a wicked left hook and a good right hand, and he can still learn. He's learning from every fight he gets. I was happy with what I saw. I'm blessed to be here to be able to see it." And then he said he even made another claim, and this is what I kind of want to camp out on. Okay, Bivol, he said, I quote, "He can go to the top. I think he's the real deal. I love defense. It's a beautiful feeling when you can hit a man and they can't hit you back. I know a lot of main events brought me up here to see him because they said that this kid loved Pernell Whitaker. So I wanted to come and see what he was all about. I got a chance to meet him and see and I see a whole lot of myself in this kid." End quote. And here's what Bivol said in regards to that. In regards to Pernell Whitaker, he said, I quote, "First of all, Pernell Whitaker's defense is better than mine. I saw many of his fights. He's one of my favorite fighters because when I saw him fight, he had so much fun. I like fighters like him, and of course, it's good for me. I never thought that a fighter like Pernell Whitaker could say good things about me." So, an unlikely fan Bivol has made in one of the all-time greats in Pernell Whitaker, and that should show you right there, how good this guy is. The fact that he's getting like Pernell Whitaker to show his fights and big him up. So, I'm not even gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna lie. I had my qualms and doubts about Bivol because I'm just skeptical. A lot of guys. He was 268-15 as an amateur, but didn't fight in the Olympics. So that was like, why would you not fight in the Olympics? But he looks like the goods, man, and he looks like while all these guys are playing checkers with their boxing skills, he's playing chess and he's having fun doing it, and he's looking great. And he's showing from all the fights that I've seen, from Barrera to Pascal to when he fought Cedric Agnew. I was there live for that fight. He puts punches together extremely well in the later rounds. He's always a step ahead of his opponents. He just gets it. He just gets it. He knows what he's good at. He sticks to it. He's incredibly skilled, and I want to see him fight the best. I really do. I want to see just how good he is. And people will favor him to be Kovalev because Kovalev is a little older at this point in his career. So, as much as I want to see it, I think the fight that will test him the most and he'll gain the most from actually winning is if he fights Alexander Gvozdyk, who I know is fighting. I think he's fighting he's be fighting later this month, I think, because he's fighting on a Tevin Farmer undercard. I think is it Tevin Farmer or ESPN Top Rank. So some card. He's fighting soon in Philadelphia. So once he gets his fight out the way, assuming that he wins his next fight, Gvozdyk, Bivol versus Gvozdyk would be like, for me, the two best. I don't want to say young, but guys who are in their prime. The two best prime light heavyweights going at it. You had Gvozdyk, who was an Olympic gold medalist. You have Bivol, who was the a great amateur for Kyrgyzstan. Shout out to Kyrgyzstan. And in the pros, he has just been nothing short of spectacular. And we want to see Bivol in there with the best because he's beaten the Chilembas and the Pascals and Joe Smiths and guys like that, Barreras. Guys that are of a certain level. That solid top 10 guy or the faded world champion type. He's beating those kind of guys. We want to see him in there with guys who are in their primes, and that's when we will truly see just how good Bivol is. We know he's good, but how good is he? Is he the best light heavyweight in the world? That's what we want to see. So, just great performance from him against Joe Smith Jr. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to do next with his career. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about Dmitry Bivol. Just his performance against Joe Smith Jr. Pernell Whitaker, bigging him up, saying that he sees a lot of himself in Dmitry Bivol. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Take the time to subscribe. Like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.